I assume I've seen this before, Mario, but that is your office that you're in, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
I've never been in your office, but
Really, all this time,
all this time,
all these years,
all these years.
you'll have to come by and we can sit and get caught up and visit. But yes, this is my office here at the food bank.
Yeah.
So,
I hope that we're probably getting close to time. I'm not paying attention here. Um, I hope last week's um, at the intersection helps in developing that kind of conversation that we're looking for in terms of the farm bill, kind of opening that up some. And if you remember, we were gonna start today, but we've dropped in this food insecurity because it's just at a good time. But we're going to be looking at Compassionate USA and the learning materials there. And we're going to utilize, though, like Farm Bill and food insecurity as kind of an example. So that'll also open up conversation. So I don't know, some one of you might want to attend all those so you can start seeing, and we can start seeing together where there might be more potential for opening the larger conversation, or that might be the conversation that Eric was hoping for.
it could be. Yeah, I'll attend and be there. Actually, I was on the phone with Don yesterday, Mayor of Uvalde.
Uh-huh.
You know, we cover Uvalde. We've done that for 40 years, and we have distributions there. But pre-tragedy, right before the tragedy, last year we were out doing community coalition work with local government stakeholders in our rural counties. And the Uvalde meeting, we had Don, Judge Mitchell, a whole slew of folks. It was a very special gathering. We had a couple of meetings, and the second meeting was 2 weeks before the tragedy. But a lot was revealed in those meetings, and we certainly appreciate Don and that community. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed. Marcial, could you stop sharing your screen for a moment so we can see faces while we do some introductions? Thanks. It's a good intro into welcoming everybody to the intersection this morning. I like to see faces to begin with, and that we're a community gathering together. But Mario from the food bank and I were just talking about the Farm Bill, conversation with that he was talking with the mayor of Uvalde. But it brings us to the fact that the mayor of Uvalde is going to be here in San Antonio. And for the local launch of Compassionate USA, look at this. I now have a background for it. Woo! And but he and Mayor Nuremberg are going to open up our community conversation on Monday at 6:30 at the Alamo College's district offices. Now, that was on your notification that I sent out yesterday, but I'll keep sending it out. But I think it's just going to be an extraordinary time to hear the two mayors talk about our world today, and specifically, of course, where we all live and where he lives. But and I was telling Marcial this morning about how the violence prevention, the Sane Society Collaborative came into being, which is just a little over a year ago. And so Uvalde tragedy happened. 2 days later, we formed a collaborative around violence prevention in the faith community. And that next weekend, the U.S. Conference of Mayors met. And at that meeting, the idea of Compassionate USA was formulated. And a year later, it was launched last weekend. And here we are in the middle of all of that and how it came into being from our community conversations here and our collaborative work. So it's just a really, I think, a great example of compassion, but, you know, leaning into what happened in Uvalde and our own responsibility for here, and then even growing our responsibility to compassion beyond ourselves to the entire country. So I hope to see all of you on the evening of June 26th as well as others that you can bring with you. I think it's going to be a very important event for us in San Antonio. It's 8:03. I think we have time for one or two other announcements, so we can allow people a few more moments to get into the Zoom. Anyone have an announcement? Wendy has her hand up. Go, Wendy.
I do. Good morning, everyone. Initially, Compassionate USA was going to launch on Tuesday night, June 13th. And when it got moved, that opened that spot for another compassionate opportunity. So there is great work afoot among many of us to create a festival of faiths for the whole city of San Antonio. And that's going to happen as part of Dream Week in January of 2024. But as we know, if you're going to do something in January of 2024, you've got to be on it way in advance. So we've been working for some months, and now we're ready to invite the community to learn more about it, see how you can get involved, how your faith tradition, congregations, singers, dancers, speakers, all the folks can be a part of this great gathering that will be on UIW's campus on Sunday afternoon, January the 21st. However, this coming Tuesday evening, June 13th at 7 p.m., there is an open invitation for you and anyone else who'd like to learn more to be on Zoom with us. So please join us, invite friends, and learn about this great opportunity for our community to celebrate the people of faith and the good news that we have to share, that we love and care about each other.
Thank you. So you're going to put that information in chat, I assume?
Yeah, I already did.
Good.
Already there.
And Martha Ann has her hand up.
Yes, compassionate integrity training started on Monday. People are still welcome to join the group. 10 sessions, resiliency training. We would love to have you and spread the word.
And one of the reasons, thanks, Martha, and one of the reasons we're doing that is that this year's Compassion Institute, we're going to be taking the materials from Compassionate USA and workshopping them during the Institute themselves, and then recreating them for different age levels. So what you find at Compassionate USA are micro courses, small snippets for anybody at no cost. But the Institute this year is going to start to develop those even deeper for San Antonio, for all ages, preschool through graduate work. It's very exciting. It's 8:06, and so I want to introduce our briefers for today. And Maciel, who is with us from Metro Health. It's really interesting, the food insecurity group that's formed, and she'll probably be telling us more about that, but is also a community collaborative. And it's been really interesting for me to watch this collaborative and be a part of the formation of food insecurity work. So I'm going to just turn it over to her. She's going to tell us more. And I know there are more folks here from that team, but this is through Metro Health, Food Insecurities. Maciel, it's yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Not everybody. It seems like coffee hasn't kicked in yet. So we're gonna try to make this presentation a little bit participative. So I make sure that you're engaged with me through this journey. So thank you, Anne, for squeezing us into the agenda today. My name is Maciel Ugalde, as she mentioned, and I am the Policy and Partnerships Coordinator for the Food Insecurity with the Office of Policy and Civic Engagement, also known as PACE. And today I'm here with Shelly Fernandez and Adriana Cordero, also known as Bianca, to share a little bit about the Health Equity Network and the work we're doing to reduce food insecurity in San Antonio, and invite you to participate because we know that you do important work to feed the soul and also at times to feed the body as well. So to start this presentation, I would like for somebody in this group to read the slide that we have here, because this is the foundation of our efforts, and this will help us ground the conversation that we're having today. So if somebody can read this slide, or if you feel more comfortable reading it on your own, just let me know when you're ready. Or if somebody wants to participate, I will enjoy that, because I like when people are participating with me. Anybody
Somebody
want
want to just open their mic and start reading?
I can read it.
Go.
Thank you.
Okay, so from the social determinants of health, we have food security and access to nutritious food, housing, environmental quality, transportation, education, healthcare, neighborhood health and community environment, income and employment, discrimination, stress, and trauma.
Thank you. And does anybody else want to read the blue box in here?
Just open your mic and start reading.
Health equity means that everyone has a fair and just opportunity to be as healthy as possible. To achieve this, we must remove obstacles to health, such as poverty, discrimination, and deep power imbalances, and their consequences, including lack of access to good jobs with fair pay, quality education and housing, safe environments, and healthcare. From healthequityguide.org.
Thank you so much. And you have won a big hug from me. So thank you so much. It is important for me to share this definition and to read it as a group, because this is the foundation of our work. So the Health Equity Network, I want to provide a little bit of context of how this came to be. So the PACE office, which is the Office of Policy and Civic Engagement, was created in January 2022. So it's recent. So we have the opportunity to build it together, right? So this was created to support cross-sectional partnerships to promote equitable health outcomes through policy and systems change initiatives. Now, the Health Equity Network is supported by the Office of Policy and Civic Engagement, and is housed at Metro Health. And the goal of this network is to stand up 3 work groups in the following areas. 1, food insecurity, which we are talking more about today, housing stability, and access to respectful care. So this network aims to nurture cross-sectional partnerships to better health outcomes, bringing all of you together and other community members to think about pressing health problems, policy solutions, and facilitating efforts to influence these social determinants of health that we just read in this slide, and hopefully create systems change. Now, the food insecurity work group has convened for the last couple of months to explore together the root causes of food insecurity and set our collective results. So together we're still working on those shared measures and policy recommendations to address food insecurity in San Antonio. And just to give you a little bit more information, this work group meets every 3rd Thursday of the month from 10 to noon. So that would be a part of the commitment to be able to join us for this meeting. Now, to provide role clarity, the PACE office will serve as a backbone organization. So this means that we provide supportive resources like a place to meet, the equipment that we need, and anything that aids in the communication, alignment of the collaboration, and anything that is needed to achieve equitable systems change and outcome improvement. So these boxes that I'm showing in the screen are basically the steps that we're following. So we're identifying the problem and the intended result. We are trying to understand the factors that influence food insecurity here in San Antonio. We know that in different places could be different factors, so we want to make sure that we understand what's going on in San Antonio. After we have that understanding and we come to a consensus that that's what's going on in San Antonio, we want to develop targets and analyze and identify strategies, test them, then monitor them and improve, and then scale and spread out successful strategies. Now, what is it that we're asking from you? So we're asking you to bring a team. So we know you guys have a very close relationship with that community. So we want to make sure that all of those voices are heard in our group. Then we want to set a targeted universalism result. We want to uplift the work through shared messaging. We also want to gather information to make evidence-based decisions, and then lend influence to shift policy, resources, and power. So even though we would like to see all your faces in our work group, I understand that to be mindful of all of the resources and the time that we have, we would like to suggest two ways that you guys can join us in this effort. So the first one would be to have 3 representatives of this group as a liaison and then bring the messaging to this group. Or you can form your work group related to food insecurity and have some representation in our work group to share knowledge, share capacity, share resources, and think together about ways that we can accomplish our goals together. So I wanted to share some of the current partners that have been participating in the work group. And I'll leave this slide for a few seconds so that you can see that that is not just a City of San Antonio effort. It's composed of several organizations in the community. And I would like to share our contact information for you if you see a fit to participate in this effort, to please reach out to us and let us know so we can include you in our invites to this group. And if you have any additional questions or you want to share any information with us or others that might be interested in participating in these efforts, we welcome that information as well. And with that, I want to open this space to see if you have any questions, and my team and I will help answer them to the best of our capabilities.
First of all, that was a great briefing. And I'm hoping that people who are watching it and the elements that you showed us, the people who are participating in other collaboratives will go, oh, I recognize this, right? We do that. It looks like that, so the process, the method that's being used isn't foreign to this group. I just want to make sure that I'm clear of what you're suggesting and asking, that perhaps a group of 3 would be a part of this collaborative process from the faith community. So what would that then look like for those 3-ish people? Would they be coming to regular meetings? How does it come together? What does that mean?
Yes, so we would like for those 3 individuals to come to the monthly meetings that I was sharing that we held on the third Thursday of the month from 10 to noon. And we're working on locking the location, but we will share that information with you guys in advance so that you know where to go. And basically participating in the work group provide the voice of this coalition of faith individuals, and then these 3 individuals are also responsible for bringing back the message to this group if possible, so that we share our aligned message, our aligned efforts, and we collaborate together as a group without overwhelming and having more than the people that we need.
Yeah, it also brings in the different vantage points. It was really good to see the slide with the different partners and the different vantage points. So if there are 3 people, would you take 4? Would you take 2? I mean,
yes, no,
okay,
it's arbitrary. I just wanted to be mindful of the resources and the time. I know that you guys participate in different collaboratives, and it could be overwhelming for folks, but what I want to avoid is to have like all of you in there, because I think that's a waste of resources.
You're not going to get everybody, so you won't have to worry about that. But if somebody wanted to do that, they would email you?
Yes.
Okay.
Or Bianca here
or Bianca. All right.
Yes.
Can you go back to the partner slide? Isn't it just the one before?
I would also like to jump in on that one piece there. So part of the collaborative participation, we ask you to bring people with lived experience. And so typically in that group of 3, someone that has direct lived experience. So I just wanted to pin that for you all. We know that these systems were built without keeping people intentionally in mind. And so that targeted universalism that we're talking about is who is actually most impacted and how do we do work to center them and work with them as decision makers of these strategies instead of having them only inform it, maybe, right? Like we want to go higher and really integrate them into decision making. So I just want to pin that when you're thinking about who's your collective team, we need to make sure that people who are impacted are brought along with you.
And if you don't mind, Ann, I might have to run downtown to meet with some city staff and run by city council, but I did want to chime in and say great presentation, and thank you to Metro Health and to the city for all the support. Obviously the mayor and council on fighting food insecurity in our community, and especially ever since the pandemic and the cracks and gaps maybe were revealed in our community in terms of everything that we all have been working on and trying to interlock arms to make sure that we fill those gaps and cracks. I wanted to share something, and maybe the group, and this is vital. A little bit over a year ago or so, Sean Green, who works for Metro Health and who's my counterpart there at the department, and I met in my office here, and we were talking about food insecurity and the work that Metro Health does and the work that we do around policy and the Farm Bill and child nutrition reauthorization and legislation, et cetera. And we were talking about maximizing resources. And I was mentioning to Sean, what if, and we were talking about the what ifs. What if we could collaborate? What if we could maximize resources? What if we could partner? What if we could work together on food insecurity and community assessment work in San Antonio? And that led to more discussions, and that led to an MOU and a partnership. So it's been, 8 months or so at least. I'm losing track of time, but we signed the MOU. It's probably been a little bit longer. And Kathy Shields, Sean Green, Claude, the whole team, we've hosted a few introductory meetings here in our new culinary training center. And the short of it is, in that new building, that's that 60,000 square foot venison processing new community kitchen building that we have about 5 cubicles that Metro Health uses. So Metro Health staff, they have badges that they can come into our building and swipe and get into our offices and use those cubicles, the office space, as they are out in the community, and especially on the west side, as we know, part of the poverty beltway here in our community, for their community food assessment work. And in saying that, working in partnership and in conjunction with our staff, specifically when it comes to our team of nutritionists, so we can maximize, track, make a bigger impact. So that's been a great partnership, and I did want to highlight that. The other thing I might add before I have to run is that, you know, we've been working with Feeding America, our national organization, Feeding Texas, our state association, for quite a while on the Farm Bill and the advocacy. And so been up to DC a few times in the last 8 months to meet with our delegation and staff on the importance of passing a strong Farm Bill. In saying that, we've also attended a couple of Farm Bill listening sessions and hosted one here on our campus with Congressman Greg Casar. Now, yesterday I was listening into one of the House Ag Committee hearings on the Farm Bill. And we do know moving forward that it's going to be pretty tough. As we know, presidential election year is around the corner. And so there's a lot of jockeying and positioning. And so we want to make sure that we articulate and strategically meet with key lawmakers that are on ag. And that would be Greg Casar, that would be Monica De La Cruz, but also the rest of our delegation to support the food bank, food and nutrition programs, and the importance of taking care of our community here in San Antonio and in Southwest Texas, our service territory. So more information to come on that, and just appreciate y'all lending your voice and getting involved in advocacy in the Farm Bill.
Thank you, Mario. Any other questions? I want to open it up. And just feel free to open your mic or raise your hands. I think we can stop sharing. By now, I hope everybody has written down these email addresses. So any thoughts or questions among us?
And the last thing I will name for participants who are thinking like, is this a good fit? Is, you know, we're really wanting to be in that practice and policy level. And so in order to make sure that programs can be able to work more successfully and hopefully end food insecurity. So just want to flag for folks, if you don't like policy conversations, they get pretty heavy, and practice conversations as well. But if we don't know what the programs need, then we're turning around and just spinning our wheels. So you are a vital person in that space. And I just want to be honest about what the conversations look like in there.
Any thoughts or questions? Because I always have them, so I've got stuff, but. Well, two things. From the list of partners, one of the things I noticed and I looked for HEB. And I noticed that it's a HEB foundation, which is not the same thing as HEB. So that might sound, I don't know if that sounds strange to people, but we all know that all of us go to HEB and they're part of the food system. I think they really need to have representation. Yes, the foundation, but I'm talking about the grocers. And I know from one of the sessions that I went to, there was lots of conversation about how HEBs are different and what all that means. So I would really invite and encourage within the formation of this group that you have put together, that there be intentional representation from the grocers. So the other statement or connection I want to make is that fairly early on with the faith-based initiative, we learned from some faith liaisons that are federal, that are in DC, one in particular with Health and Human Services there, Ben Odell. And I'd asked him that from across the country, if there were common factors among initiatives in the faith community in particular that had the greatest impact. And I know others have heard me say this before, and he responded with, oh yeah, that's easy. And I was like, well, if it's so easy, then why don't I know what those are, right? And so he told us two things. One, initiatives that are in close proximity to each other and to the needs. So we could even go back to the grocery store example of HEB. The initiatives that are in close proximity to each other and to the needs. So HEB, congregations that are in close proximity to each other, working together. So, 6 congregations that are in walking distance to each other do not all need a food pantry, right? But they could all be using the same one and supporting that one throughout their community. The second item, he said there are 2 items. The second one was to focus on the needs that are closest to the ground. And he was referring to Maslow's hierarchy. So the initiatives that focus on food, housing, and security that are working together in close proximity, geographical proximity, have the largest impact. And that other community concerns that are maybe higher up on that hierarchy begin to heal themselves quite organically when those basic needs are being addressed as a community, because community forms is what happens. So that's one reason I think this conversation is so important to all of our collaboratives, because food is one of those 3 things on the ground. So I appreciate the work of this collaborative and it coming forward. I'm hoping that maybe you can stay in case there's more conversation or questions. I want to pause here. It's 8:30, and out of compassionate respect, we try to kind of bring the briefing to a close at this point so that people who have other meetings can go do that. We are going to start a summer series. We've had series the last 2 summers. Summer before was a new council, so we heard from council members. Last summer, we heard from each of the collaboratives that have been formed. And I encourage anybody who might be new to this to go to where the recordings are in sacred.org and watch last summer's series on collaboratives. You only need to watch 10 or 15 minutes to know about all the work that is happening. This summer series is going to be Compassionate USA, that just launched last Sunday, and we're going to be working our way together through those materials. But we're going to, at least initially, utilize food insecurity as kind of our example in that learning together. So kind of a laboratory of taking what we're learning and then applying it both personally, but also publicly. So I want to invite all of you to that, and you'll be hearing more about that. So that was my announcement. Those of you who have to leave, thanks for being with us, and we hope you have a great weekend. It's a beautiful day. Other questions and thoughts?
In reference to HEB, I'm going to log off here and thank you and enjoy your day. Thank you for the convening and the conversation. But, without HEB, food banks, the 21 of us in the state of Texas couldn't do what we do. They support us greatly with food, funds, and other resources. As a matter of fact, today on our campus, Tournament of Champions, distribution in conjunction with HEB. So about 300 volunteers out here, HEB employees and folks from across the state and even outside our state are here, and we'll probably be serving a few hundred households, if not more than that, probably several hundred. But HEB, when it comes to policy, I have my counterparts. So on the local and state level, and then on the federal level. And so we work with them on the federal level with the Farm Bill. Abel Martinez is my counterpart. And we were just in DC together several months back, visiting with lawmakers on the importance of the Farm Bill, and also HEB's advocacy around supporting food and nutrition and their stores. So it's a great partnership with them, and I'll mention it to Abel about the group and what's going on.
I think it's really important. Not all of our collaboratives have businesses in them, but we tend to, in collaborative work, think of city and nonprofits, community groups, neighborhood associations, but in several, and it should be in all of them, several of our collaboratives, there is the business community, and they have to be at the table. They just have to be at that metaphorical table to make a difference, So enough about HEB.
Yeah, what I will name is yes, and we have to also be really mindful of power dynamics in these spaces.
Yep.
And so we're being very intentional of how people roll in for that factor of like, did we give space to people with lived experience first? And then as they start identifying the root causes, then we fold in more people. And so I hear you. And like in my dream world, we would start with only with people lived experience and then add everyone else in.
Right.
So it's a balance.
Well, I'm sure HEB has more than one person on staff who has food insecurity life experience. So they need to bring that person too, right? So other thoughts and questions? Thanks, Mario, for being here. I also noticed, if there are no more questions, I also noticed some other announcements in chat, and I really encourage you to look at those. There is an event this Sunday, and these were in your notifications as well. This is off the top of my head, right? 1 to 5, Race Amity Day at Rosedale Park. I might have some bit there, not quite right, but it was in yesterday's notification. I encourage you to go to that. Maybe Norma, if she's still on, she might. Norma, are you still here? Feel free to share. Also, Dwayne, who was with us quite a bit last year, because he is the chair of the Martin Luther King Commission, but he's going to be part of a panel at the film series. And I put that in the notification. There's one next Thursday night. Dwayne, are you still with us? Norma's still with us.
Yeah, I'd like to say something about
do
this.
that.
Okay, just inviting everyone. We need the love amongst us all, right? That's why we're here. We're trying to work all this out together. And Race Amity Festival, please come and join us. It's at the Rosedale Park, like it was mentioned, 303 Dartmouth Street at 1 o'clock. And there's going to be speakers and entertainment. And it's free admission, no tickets, none of that. And it's fun for the family. Please come.
Thanks, Norma. And Martha Ann's came back with CIT. Where's lunch being provided, Bill? Is that on Sunday? I missed it.
That is at our Sacred's quarterly user group meeting, which will be June 22nd. I'm sorry, June 29th at the neighborhood place. So there's a link in the chat if you want to sign up for notices. So free lunch. If you don't
I only go for the free
then
lunch.
come for the great partnerships.
Any other comments, questions? I'm going to really challenge everyone. Next week, bring another person with you. Bring another person with you. Consider bringing somebody who's half your age and doesn't look like you. And think about it and be intentional about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this is going to work. And when I say this, I mean the big this. All of us coming together and working together and collaborating together really will, tip our world into a different way of being. I just heard that the science has told us that about 10% of the people, if they start to practice similar ways like collaborating together or whatever it might be, but 10% of the people, if they kind of get into whatever that is, that will tip the other 90%. Well, recently I heard that number is as low as 3%. 3% can tip the entire culture. And frankly, let's see, I have to do the numbers in my head. I'm not very good at this in my head, but we're getting less than 10% of the people in this list to attend. So in one sense, if it's 10%, we're low on that tipping point. But if it's 3%, we're well on our way. But if each one of us brings one other person and nurtures that leadership and community engagement, that really will change what we're doing. So I've just challenged myself, and I'm going to do that. And I hope you do too. So have great weekends. Thank you to our team at Metro Health for all that you're doing and for being with us here this morning. And again, I hope you all have great weekends, and I will see you next Thursday at the intersection.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet all of you. Call us whenever you need us, Bianca, Maciel, Junda. I saw you all here.
Thank you.